Hello, welcome to Fireside Chats. My name is Magla Pillai, and today it is my pleasure to introduce to you Sister Denise, who has been practicing Raj Yoga meditation for over 4 decades. Today's topic is entitled Integrity. In this series, we look at a variety of subjects involving spirituality. We ask you, the viewer, to take a good look into your own mind and heart and ask yourself important questions like, what is your spiritual understanding? Do you have enough skills internally to cope with whatever life throws at you? And what your relationship with God is? Do you have a deep and meaningful relationship with the Supreme, or is it superficial and in name only? Sister Denise, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Very, very warm welcome to today's show. Sister Denise, integrity is a personal favorite of mine. How does it play a role in one's ability to handle life?
Integrity, if you're going to look at it as a thing, it means that all the pieces are in place. That it is a whole, it is complete, and all the parts are in line with all the other parts.
Kind of like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, you can see it like a kaleidoscope, but it's more like this, that the way I see it is someone who doesn't have integrity. There's one side of them which is this way, and then the other side of them is another way, and the two parts, they really don't line up with each other. And integrity is really a moral question. If a person espouses certain values, but then they act in another way, then we will say this is not a person of integrity. So it's as if integrity means your inside and your outside match. What you say, what you do, what you think, it's all lining up. And there's no part of yourself that's in opposition with another part of yourself. So this is a person who is really integrated with themselves. And I think that it is one of the important aims of spiritual life, of human life in general, but especially in spiritual life, we want to be totally real. The inside and the outside must match.
Okay. Sister Denise, we live in a world where it is almost impossible to know what is real and what's not, and who is real and who's not, because that which is fake has also now value, because it has its own beauty and its own attraction. Does integrity have a place in today's day and age?
I think integrity has a very important place, because although there are many people who do not have integrity, they always end up leaving a very bitter taste in the mouth, you know. And when you do find a person of integrity, that means that's a person you can trust. That means you can have, you know, some hope in humanity. So it has a very, very positive effect when you encounter someone like that. And it's a very good inspiration that is how I should also be, a person of integrity. So then the value structure that you create for yourself is going to put integrity way up on the top.
Okay. Now, Sister Denise, tell us what integrity means as far as your life is concerned. Does it affect your decision making? Does it affect your speech? Does it affect your conduct? And if so, how?
Well, I think that it affects all of these things, and it is really the sort of driving force that determines all of your choices, decisions, the priorities that you take. I mean, so many things are based in if a person is a person of integrity, and if a person is not a person of integrity, then there's going to be dishonesty, there's going to be, things just don't line up. It's going to be a very fragmented or disintegrated life. And, a disintegrated person, a disintegrated character, that's extremely weak and kind of crazy.
Oh, that sounds a bit scary. Yes. Why is it that one struggles to find somebody in this world who has any value for the virtue of honesty and integrity? Why has this become such a rare commodity?
I believe that it's because it costs a person a lot to be like that.
Okay, if you say it costs a person a lot, in what currency does one pay the price?
Well, you have to have moral courage. You have to be able to face realities. For so many people who do acts of dishonesty, who are not concerned about maintaining their integrity, it's because it's expedient, it's because it's easy in the short term, it's because it appears to be, less expensive, you can get away with it. And so people do, because I think perhaps they're short-sighted, perhaps they don't think about the laws of karma, perhaps they're not giving weight to a high standard of personal conduct, because they don't realize that if you pay a high price for something, that thing that you buy has value. And even I would go so far as to say that it will hold its value. If you buy diamonds, they don't get cheaper. They retain their value, they increase their value. And, you have to have value for things of value. I think a person without integrity will give value to things that don't have value. And that's, in a way, part of what it means not to have integrity.
Yes, Denise, you speaking of things that have value and things that do not have value. There are some things that have value, but it's ephemeral value. And then you get things that have eternal value. Okay, and because I think we've become so short-sighted, it's difficult to see the wood from the trees. How do you navigate your way through life, knowing the difference between the two?
Well, if something has ephemeral value, then it's not a real value. It just disappears and you end up with nothing. Something that's of real value is something that's lasting. And I think that integrity is concerned with the things that are lasting. You're concerned with the ultimate analysis, the final outcome of things, because you are there for yourself through all of the vicissitudes of time, you see, and you have the patience and the far-sightedness to be concerned about the long-term consequences. I think when somebody is living in an ephemeral way, just in a very maybe hedonistic way, which is all about very short-lived pleasures, and you don't think about what's next, and if you did think, you'd have a different value system,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Sister Denise, if one respects integrity, wants to be a person of integrity, wants to be a person of honesty, I think the first thing that you realize is that, gee, there's a parts of me that aren't. Okay, so it requires a bit of self-reflection. How do you refine the sense of integrity and honesty that you already have?
I think it's to do with thinking about the principles of spiritual knowledge which take you to really the long term. Earlier we were speaking about cycles, the eternal cycle of the soul. So what happens is a person of integrity is a person who knows that I will always be me, and I will go through this whole cycle, and that whole cycle is me, and I need to be true to myself at all times, because to live with myself knowing that I'm fake, or knowing that I'm not true to myself, or I've betrayed myself or sold myself short, it takes you so far away from your dignity, your honor, and your self-respect that that feels, on the very, very long term, that feels so cheap, to do that to yourself.
Yes, Denise, when somebody is being fake, do they necessarily admit it to themselves? Or is part of the enjoyment of being fake their own refusal to admit to themselves, listen here, self, I am leading a very superficial existence?
Well, I think that the moment a person becomes aware of that, they stop doing it. So I think that someone who's fake is sort of in denial. I think that they are thinking they can get away with it, thinking everybody believes them. They're dreaming. And one day they'll wake up, and that'll be quite an uncomfortable day, So the only thing I can say is, really think about being real. Are you real? Because if you're not, then what's in it for you not to be real? And look at the contrast between what's in it for you to be real, and you will see that you get a much greater benefit from being true to yourself than from being a fake.
Sister Denise, there are many who find themselves in circumstances that require them to be fake. For example, you have to put on a certain persona at work, and that is not who you really are. But you just put it on because you need the job and you need the money. I'm just giving you one specific example. So life calls upon you to be something that you don't necessarily want to be, but you're forced to be it as a survival mechanism. What do you say to that, where you find yourself caught between a rock and a hard place?
I think that when you enter into action, it's what you're doing. And so one of the things that spirituality says is you're an actor. So you need to really remember that you're an actor. You go into a situation, or a situation arises, you have to act in the context of that situation, which may be your work day or whatever it is. And I think whatever it is that you're doing, you've always got some connection to your being. And you want to be in situations where you are as true as possible to your being. And when you are in some situations where you can be really false to yourself, I mean, you're aware of the choice, and you're aware of the consequences of the choice, and you can make a choice. You may be between a rock and a hard place, but there's still the lesser of two evils. And I think the more you're in contact with your sense of integrity, the more you will make the better choice, even when the possibilities are not very many and they're not very good.
Yes, Denise, I'm thinking specifically now of marriages and the exceptionally high divorce rate that has become very commonplace in the world, in almost every country that one goes to. There are countries where the number of people who are living together surpasses the number of people who are married. Okay? But specifically within the context of marriage, when two people stand before the pulpit and promise to live happily ever after together, and then 5, 10, 15 months or years down the line, they have changed their minds and have become bitter enemies. What happened to the integrity as far as that is concerned? I've heard it said that irrespective of which direction the marriage goes, when people are standing together on their marriage day, they believe that they will be together for life. They believe it. I'm in favor of that view, but yet the reality of marriage says otherwise. What happened? What goes wrong? And why is marriage so popular even though it still goes that wrong? Mind you, that second question is a subject for another day. The first question.
What causes people to come together in the first place, a lot of the time, is an unresolved karmic account. And once you get married, you're bonded together. And what happens with an unresolved karmic account is it puts you in a situation where you really have to be with that person. And then after a little while, there's this very strong attraction. Many people get married because they fall in love with each other and they think each other is just absolutely the best thing. And it is for that moment, but there are behind the scenes these unresolved karmic accounts, which causes the energy of attraction to turn into an energy of repulsion. And then they will be pushed away from each other, but they're in bondage. That's what a karmic bondage is. And so you can't live with each other and you can't live without each other. So you come again and again into very difficult situations which may be full of conflict and abuse and suffering, and the way that you handle that conflict, abuse and suffering causes you to suffer, but at the same time puts you again back into more suffering because you do karma which creates that consequence. So the knots around the participants get tighter and tighter as you struggle more and more. There are some knots like that. And until the karmic account is over. But if you keep on renewing the account as you are settling and renewing, that is, the terrible situation. And you finally, rent yourself apart from that person only to bounce into some similar thing with somebody else, and the cycle starts again. So what the role of integrity there, I think, has to do with the process of negotiating a relationship. And if you discern that what you have here is a very heavy karmic account, then you need to be able to also discern that, well, I'm going to have to pay. And you need to bring to bear, I think, your intuition, so that you get a sense of when some payment is coming up, and you just pay and pay and pay. And you be very careful not to do anything which is intensifying the karmic account. So you have to be very careful of your decisions, of how you treat that person. Everything has to be absolutely based on virtue and not on revenge or getting your own back or trying to get justice or this or that or the other. But if it's based absolutely on virtue, then you are finishing off your account, and a person of integrity and discernment will be able to do that.
Sure.
And then at the end you're free.
Yeah, very few people see it that way. Very few people. So, Sister Denise, somebody who has integrity, what is their relationship like with themselves?
A person of integrity with themselves will always be trying to really know the self as I really am. So you'll understand your limits, you'll understand who you are, what kind of person you are, you'll know what your value system is, you will know your strengths and weaknesses, you will make choices that suit that persona that you have discerned, and you will create a like a track of where you want to go in your life, and you will move yourself on that track. You know, sometimes there are parts of yourself that are really difficult to manage. You have to come to terms with those.
Oof, that line is a subject by itself. Continue.
Well, I mean, people are not so simple.
No, they're not.
And, you know, sometimes, I mean, a lot of times people think, well, this is the way I am, so everybody else must be this way too. But no, they're very different. And so there is a question of being able to integrate yourself with other people, so that you can harmonize and work together and then come apart, and that requires a good amount of flow and fluidity.
Sister Denise, one's relationship with God, how am I able to maintain an honest relationship with God, where I can stand before God transparent, and there is nothing superficial about it? Because if one has to have a fulfilling relationship with the Supreme, it has to be of a certain ilk, certain quality, for it to be worth anything of value to me. So how do I bring integrity into that relationship, which I think it's the most important of all relationships?
Well, your relationship with God has to be absolutely transparent. You can't just say, okay, God, you know, we'll have a really nice time today, and then, oh, by the way, I've got, you know, these other people, so I have to go and play, and see you later, and oh, you're the most important person in my life, and oh, well, I forgot about these other people, you know, who are actually very important. So, you know, it's not real. And so you are not being true, you're not being truthful, you're not being honest. So honesty and integrity, they come together. If you're going to say to God, okay, God, you're the most important thing in my life, you're the most interesting thing in my life, so my life is going to revolve around you, well, then it has to do that. Because if you say one thing 1 minute and then you do something else another minute, and then you complain, oh, it didn't work out, can you help me? It's not straight.
Okay. I think that we have to say goodbye to you right now, which is a pity, because this subject can go on for another hour. But thank you for sharing your thoughts on it. Integrity is a very beautiful quality, and it's not something that we find easily in today's world. And it's lovely to be in the presence of somebody who obviously has that quality in abundance. Thank you.
Okay.
So there you go, brothers and sisters, the quality of integrity. It's something that you will only be able to understand within your own mind and heart. If you stand in front of the mirror, it could be a physical mirror, look into your eyes and ask yourself, am I honest, and does my life have integrity? If it doesn't, and with most people on the planet, we're not as honest as we'd like to be, we're not have the quality of integrity as much as we'd like to have it, this can change. You can improve, because at the end of the day, we are all here to learn. So integrity is a very beautiful aim to have in one's life, to be clean on the inside and on the outside. And as Sister Denise was sharing, to bring this virtue into all aspects of your life, like your relationships, be it with friends, loved ones, colleagues, etc. So thank you so much for spending this half an hour with us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.